Hello, hello, hello. Hi, everyone. Happy Thursday. Welcome to another episode. If you're listening to this on a podcast, I hope you like these podcasts. It would really help me out if you could share the podcast with a friend. I think if you're like from your podcast app, there should be like a little arrow where you can just forward it to a friend that you think might enjoy it. And on tonight's agenda, we're going to be talking about this week's YouTube video, which is all about how to use your reins and how not to use your reins. We have some questions from our Stride students about bend and suppleness. I'm going to be talking a little bit about showing, to show or not to show, because I think that that's a pretty common thing that we're torn between. Is should we show our horses, or is it okay to just stay at home and work at home with our horses? Then I'm going to be talking a little bit about the 30-day to round challenge, which is going on. So we've got a lot to cover in tonight. And as you see, my husband is missing. It's always really fun when he comes on these lives and we get to chat back and forth and banter a little bit. But he is in Idaho this weekend teaching a clinic. So you're just stuck with me tonight. All right. So first on my list is this week's YouTube video is a good one. So if you haven't watched it yet, make sure to go to my YouTube channel, Amelia Newcomb Dressage. And this week on the YouTube channel, we were talking about a very common problem with riders, which is something that I have been guilty of in the past. And that is where you cross your hand over the horse's neck. This is a big no-no. It's very bad. And often if you find yourself like kind of neck reining or crossing your hand over your horse's neck, it's because your horse isn't listening to the leg. So we always want to ride from the leg to the hand. We want to try to teach our horse to respond to the leg and to use more leg and less hand. So it's really important that your left hand stays on the left side of the neck, your right hand stays on the right side of the neck, and then you use your leg to ride your horse straight. So leg to hand, leg to a forward feeling hand. And there's some really cool visuals on the video this week from the drone from above, or not the drone, from my GoPro camera on my helmet. So you can really see what my hands are doing and what your hand should and should not be doing. So hopefully you have a chance to watch that video. And we have some questions from our Stride students. Let's see who's here. Hi, Barbara. Hi, Emily. Hi, Nora from Alabama. Hi, Emily. Awesome. And I see a lot of you are enjoying the 30-day to round challenge, which is so fun. I'm so excited about the 30-day to round challenge. We had our first live call Wednesday morning, which was all about forward, because forward is first. Forward is the engine for roundness. And so in the live call, we talked about what exactly is forward, because it's kind of a mysterious term. It's not just about going faster. We talked about why your horse isn't forward and really understanding the root cause of what might be blocking your horse to go forward. Then we talked about the best exercises to get your horse forward. So if you're in 30 days round, make sure to watch the recording of that first call. And then I think our call this next Wednesday is going to be about the aids for roundness. So we have a lot of cool stuff planned, and it's always so fun with the 30-day challenges. Everyone is so excited and so motivated, and there's so many questions in the chat, or in the Facebook group, that my team and I are like 24/7 answering everyone's questions. And so it's going to be an epic 30 days for 30 days to round. Alrighty. Hello, Hannah. Hello, Heather. Hello, Emma. Okay, so let's talk about, we have some questions in the Facebook group for Strides about bending and suppleness. So Hannah, who's here tonight, her question is ideas for working on bend and suppleness while being limited to straight lines during rehab. So that's definitely tricky. Rehab is just, oh man, I feel you, Hannah. Rehab is so hard because you can't do all the things that you would normally do to regulate your horse's energy. So I would definitely recommend, like, without going off the line, and I know your horse is a little bit more educated, you could certainly ride like shoulder 4, shoulder 4 one way, shoulder 4 the other way, and think about, without moving your horse off the line, just dimpling them in the rib cage and getting him to connect from inside leg to outside rein. And just doing a lot of that. And you can probably, like for rehab, you can do big turns, like a big circle. You just don't want to do anything super sharp. But keeping your horse connected inside leg to outside rein is going to be the best thing that you can do. Christine, how to help a horse that is particularly stiff on one side, resistant to suppling or bending. So first thing is groundwork. And I know, Christine, you're in the 30 Day to Round Challenge. So in 30 Days to Round, there's a bunch of groundwork exercises where you can teach your horse to bend before you get on. And so if your horse is really stiff or resistant, it's really best if you can work through that from the ground first. So that way your horse has a chance to like move and stretch their back before you're sitting on top of them. You can also be a bit more effective from the ground as opposed to sitting on your horse. And then my biggest tip for riding is to change directions a lot. Because if you just focus on the stiff side, if you just keep going on the hard side, then it just gets harder and harder. So you kind of want to go like hard side, easy side, hard side, easy side. And then the more you change directions, the more even your horse is going to get. Joan is asking, by the time I get the bend and my horse becomes supple, it's gone. He hollows, fights me head high, so frustrating. Start to feel like I'm nagging. I can only imagine how wonderful it must be to ride a supple round horse. I want this so much for my horse. Any suggestions? Okay, so Joan, definitely stick to the 30 Day to Round Challenge curriculum, because the way that that curriculum is set up is that it's really about like the sequence of the exercises, the way that it's designed in the 30 Days to Round Challenge with the 4 phases, like groundwork, forward, bending, round. Sticking to that sequence is going to help get you there. And it definitely, like, it's hard, you know, roundness is hard, and it is, you feel like a moment of it and you're like, oh my gosh, I've got it. And then it goes away again. So that's okay. You just have to start over and get that feeling back. And then little by little, as your horse starts to develop the muscles, it gets better and better. So let's see. Byron says, I joined the 30 Day Challenge just a few days ago and already have learned so much and feel like we're improving daily. If you're on the fence, just do it. Good for you. That's really good to hear. And Emily says, I couldn't believe what a huge difference 5 minutes of groundwork made. So much faster to bend when in the saddle. Yes, thank you, Emily. I know groundwork is one of those things, like we all just want to get on and ride. I'm 100% guilty of that. But it is like spending 5 minutes on the ground, it saves you time in the end. So it's like just one of those things, like try it, do it. It will make a difference. All right. Leslyn Adams says, the outside leg and weighting the outside. I've been concentrated on the inside leg, that the outside leg's role has been neglected. Okay. So her question is about the inside leg versus the outside leg, which is a good question. And what we want with our horses is that we want our horses to be between our legs and between our reins. And that's like your horses between your legs and your reins when they're going the direction that you want to be going at the speed that you want to be going. And so everything that we're doing, like with our legs, with our half halts, is all about trying to get our horse centered or to get our horse with us. And that's the feeling that we love, right? The feeling of connection and harmony when your horse is paying attention and going the speed that you want, in the direction that you want. So specifically with our legs, is imagine that your legs are like banks of a river. So your horse's energy is the river and like the water running through the river, right? Your legs are shaping where that river is going. And so if your horse starts to fall too much to the inside, they're going to run into the bank, which is your inside leg. And that's going to kind of push the energy out. If your horse starts drifting out, they're going to run into the bank of your outside leg. If you're on a circle, inside leg is at the girth, outside leg is behind the girth. But then if your horse is going where you want them to go, then your legs are more passive. Like they're there, but they're not all the time kicking or having pressure. So it's a balance. If you only have inside leg, then the river is going to all like splay out to the right. You're going to have an ocean, right? Which all the energy is just going to go dissipating to the right. So that's why you need to have two legs, and your horse needs to stay between your two legs so that you can direct the energy forward. Let me know in the chat if you liked my little river and bank analogy. Maybe I should do a video on that. That might be a good one. A lot of trainers use analogies to teach. My husband uses a lot more analogies than I do, and I've been trying to bring more of them because I think that they are really helpful. Okay, those are all the questions. I wanted to talk a little bit about showing your horse. So let me know in the chat, yes or no. Yes, you are showing your horse. No, you are not showing your horse. Okay, Jen says yes. But I feel like, here's my opinion on it, is that I think it's great if you show. I think it's great if you don't show. It doesn't really matter to me. What does matter to me is that you're dedicated to the partnership that you have with your horse, to developing that partnership, and to really training your horse correctly and methodically. And I know a lot of you are showing this year, especially right now. It's championships, which is so exciting. Like championships is so cool because you've worked so hard all year to qualify and to do all the shows and to get ready. And then the championships is a little bit of a culmination of your hard work for the year, which is so cool. Like I remember when I was a kid, just trying to get enough 60% so that I would qualify and then I could go to the championships. And it was a big deal. It was a big token of the hard work that had gone in all year. So for those of you who are showing, it's so awesome. You know, it's such a great way to have goals and motivation and kind of milestones, because sometimes with riding, you're like, I don't know, I'm riding every day and I'm doing some nice circles, but am I getting any better? So shows or like even just moving up the levels is a great way to kind of measure that progression, and also for you to set some goals. And the way that the tests are designed is they're really designed to help you train your horse. So training level, like 1, 2, and 3 build on each other, which gets you ready for first level, and all of the movements and the patterns build on each other and they become more and more complicated. So it's a great way to help guide you in your training with that correct progression. For those of you who are showing, you also know that it's a big commitment. Showing takes a lot of time and money, and it's definitely one of those things that gets better with time. So if you are like, yes, I want to show, you kind of have to commit to doing it consistently enough that your horse starts to get the idea of like, okay, I go in the trailer, I go somewhere new, I do my test, I come home. Like the more you do it, the easier it gets, because the first time you go to a show, everything is new. Like you don't have the right stuff. Your horse won't get in the trailer. Your horse is all nervous. Like you haven't found that routine enough. So it definitely is like the more consistent that you can be about it and the more that you can commit to, okay, this is looking like a good year. I want to show, I'm going to be consistent about it. Then it gets better with time. And some horses, frankly, are just better show horses than others. Like some horses get really stressed out about traveling and like super worried about it. And other horses seem to really enjoy going away from home and like performing and going to the shows. For me, what I like about showing more than anything is I like that it's a test of the partnership that I have with my horse. Because if you think about it, it's pretty amazing that we can go like be at home and do our test. And then that we put our horse in a horse trailer, take them to a completely new venue. Everything is different, everything is new around them, and expect them to still listen and pay attention and do that pattern at a show. And always at a show, stuff happens, right? Um, Let me know in the chat. I'm curious. I'll share my most embarrassing show moment. But let me know in the chat if you've had any embarrassing show moments, because remember that horses are unpredictable and they're flight animals. And so things happen at shows, right? Your horse spooks, your horse spins around, you forget your test. There's a lot that can and will go wrong at horse shows. So my horse, Trumpet, he was like notoriously bad at horse shows. So I was at the Los Angeles Equestrian Center and I start going around the arena and he like squeals and rears straight up. And then I was like, I'm doing the test. And I go in and I start doing the test. I think it was like a third level test. And in the canter, he dropped his shoulder and like totally tried to buck me off. And the judge said, do you want to continue with your test? And I was so mad and I was so embarrassed. And I was like, yes, I am finishing this test. And then I remember leaving the show ring and like just the tears like streaming down my face because you put yourself out there and you spend all this time and money and you get ready and you get all dressed up and then your horse is like a disaster and it's so embarrassing. But every one of those hard times, it builds like more partnership and more understanding with your horse. And then one day you're going to go in there and like all that energy and adrenaline is going to go into having a really good test. So my Grand Prix horse, Harvey, he was an amazing show horse because he would get super hyper, but all the energy would like stay under you. And so when I won the Grand Prix with him last year, and it was like a magic carpet ride because he had all this power and all this energy and he was like piaffing and passaging and like very energized but super under control. And so that's what I love about showing is those feelings of partnership and connection and trust where your horse is a little excited and you are a little nervous. And when it all comes together and the energy and the excitement of the show makes you perform better and shows off your correct training and develops a partnership and the bond that you have with your horse. Because one of my favorite parts of showing is like spending so much time in the barn and cleaning the stalls and feeding your horse and coddling them and grooming them and hand walking them and just like really pampering your horse at the horse show. That for me is my favorite part of showing. So let me see. Okay, Hannah says my quarter horse had terrible anxiety leaving the warm-up. He loved bucking and rearing during our tests. Yes. Janet says it's hard sometimes in the warm-up. Yes, with all the people and the speakers. Oh no, it's the worst. When the speakers like crackle. I had a really bad experience because everyone was just going every different direction. Oh my gosh. Okay. How's Harvey's rehab progressing? Well, Harvey loves living on my mom's ranch in Colorado. My mom always sends me these pictures of him like galloping across the fields with the cows and his girlfriend, Zephania. So he's loving life and he's doing good. So hopefully we'll see if he can come back. But that's always hard when when you lose a horse or they have to retire. It's really hard. Okay, so we've talked about showing. Let's talk about not showing, because I also have many, many students that don't show. And for those of you that don't show, I think that that's totally fine. I don't think that you should pressure yourself to show if it's something that you don't want to do. If it's something that you can't commit to for whatever reason, and you can still do so much without showing. And often what happens is, and I see this with my students, is if I have students that are like, well, I don't really want to show, I just really want to work on the basics and the partnership with my horse. And it's like, great. Okay, that to me is like the best goal ever. Because when you take the time it takes to really develop the correct basics and the partnership with your horse, then the showing part is easy. And even if you don't show, you can still set goals and you can still set milestones. Like you can practice different patterns, or you can even ride through a test just at home, or you can also make other challenges for yourself. Like, I want to go out on the trail with my horse, or I want to do pulls and cavaletti with my horse, or I want to canter my horse, or whatever it is. And to me, I think the people that are really dedicated to the training and the partnership and the consistency of that, often those are the people that make the most progress. Because sometimes if you get too obsessed about the movements or moving up a level every year, then you start to miss the basics and then things don't go well. Because I think we've all seen the horses that are at a horse show, but it looks like they've been pushed too fast, or they're like, they've lost the basics, or they look unhappy or grumpy. And that's not what we want. Remember that dressage is about a happy athlete. Dressage is about harmony and balance and connection. And one thing that I've learned now, like having trained 6 or 7 Grand Prix horses, is that you're better off to go a little slower and really get the basics correct, really do it correctly, than you are to try to push like too fast up the levels. And then you end up having holes and having problems and having a horse that loses a little bit of confidence or trust in you. The other thing that is really hard about this sport that we do is that it isn't linear. And so much of dressage or riding in general is like 1 step forward, 2 steps back, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Because every time that you go and you try a little bit of a harder movement, then inevitably something breaks in your foundation, in your basics, and you have to go back and you have to start over. So yeah, I'm happy for all of you who are showing, or like Heather says, I don't show, but I ride the test movements. That's fantastic. Like I mentioned, I don't really think it matters whether you show or whether you don't show. I think that they're both great. And I fully respect those of you who are showing and also those of you who don't show. So that is my pep talk for tonight. Gosh, it's just a busy month here with 30 days to round. And we also are finishing up our training scale masterclass, which is very fun and exciting. And it would be awesome. I do have a favor to ask. If you enjoy my content, if you would share it with a friend, like tell them that I have this great video or this great YouTube channel, or share the podcast with them. That would be fantastic and really help me out. So I hope you have a wonderful evening. My little puppy Messy is wrecking havoc back here in my office. So I'm going to take Messy for a walk, and we'll see.